This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap. Go to STIRLING soap.com and check out their full line of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne. It's April 17th, and on this day in 1953, the baseball world was introduced to the tape measure home run. Now, it is not the longest one that was ever hit, but it is one of the most famous ones hit in Major League Baseball history. The New York Yankees were playing at the Washington Senators Griffith Stadium. Mickey Mantle was a 21-year-old slugger coming off of a year when he was third in the MVP voting and just coming into his own as a ball player in the major leagues. In Mick's own words, the Senators Park was a tough place to hit a home run. There was a 90-foot-tall wall in center field, and the wind always seemed to be blowing in. But on this day, it was a little bit different. The wall was still there, but there was a little bit of a breeze blowing out of the park. Mantle was a switch hitter, and he came to the plate as a righty against the left-handed pitcher Chuck Stobbs. Stobbs delivered a meaty fastball to Mantle, who connected, sending the ball over the wall in left center on its way out of the ballpark. It ricocheted off of a beer sign and continued over 5th Street and landed in the backyard of the house at 434 Oakdale Street. In the press box, New York Yankee PR man Red Patterson said, "That one's got to be measured." So he ran from the press box out of the ballpark and down the street where he saw the ball heading. He saw 10-year-old Donald Dunaway with a baseball in his hand. The kid was wondering who had hit the bomb. Patterson told him that Mickey Mantle had belted it and then asked Donnie to show him where he found it. After the boy did, Patterson paced off the distance to the outside wall of the stadium. Now, he did not use a tape measure at any point, instead using the dimensions of the ballpark and his own pacing, but he came up with a distance of 565 feet, which would have been further if it hadn't glanced off the beer sign. And even though no tape measure was actually used to measure it, from that point on, any long home run became known as a tape measure shot. Also on this day in sports history, in 1976, Philadelphia Phillie Mike Schmidt hit 4 consecutive home runs at Chicago's Wrigley Field, turning a 13-2 deficit into an 18-16 extra-inning slugfest win for the Phillies over the Cubs. The teams combined for 43 hits that day and a total of 9 home runs. On this day in 1943, professional race car driver St. John Horsfall helped pull off one of the greatest spy missions of World War II. Horsfall drove 2 British intelligence officers as well as a corpse to be used in Operation Mincemeat, which was an attempt to deceive Germany and shift troops away from a planned attack area in Italy. Horsfall drove a van modified with a bigger engine and better suspension. Horsfall was legally blind, but that did not stop him from driving at night with dimmed headlights careening around corners. He made it to the drop-off point in Scotland with minutes to spare, and the mission was incredibly successful, thanks in no small part to the efforts of Horsfall on this day, 83 years ago. And on this day in 1911, American League President Ban Johnson relented after initially refusing to allow Cleveland Nap players to attend the funeral of their teammate, Addie Joss, who died on the 14th from tubercular meningitis. The players had threatened a walkout, but tensions were eased when the scheduled game with Detroit was postponed. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. In Star Trek, one of the cool things that Captain Kirk, Spock, and the rest of the crew of the Enterprise got to do was transport down to the surface of a planet using that matter scrambler thingy. That was actually a way that showrunners came up with a way to save money. Having the crew go to another location, get in a shuttle or some smaller ship to transport down and back would have been a little bit pricier. So a cost-saving measure turned into one of the coolest sci-fi inventions on the show. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.